StraightallDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are on part 3, as promised, of our 3-part mini-series, which is why they hate Elon Musk. I have already explained to you in part 1 where this is coming from and why I'm talking about it. And parts 1 and 2 give you context as to what I'm going to talk about here in part 3. So if you didn't hear parts 1 and 2, just go back to the previous 2 episodes and make sure you check those. Also, my text message number down below in the description, free to join. Secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to be coached by me, have me as your direct personal coach, get into our group programs, get access to all 40 plus trainings, all 1,000 plus courses that we have. Go to 40 plus courses, 1,000 plus trainings. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link down below in the description to this episode. Picking up right where we left off, which is point number 7. We are talking here today about why they hate Elon Musk. Number 7. Through their proposed Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE, D-O-G-E, Department of Government Efficiency, Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy are threatening a bunch of people whose careers are based on working inefficiently, yet getting paid handsomely. Now, this is what their proposal is all about, is that they're going to look at the government, which I know, and most of you, if you pay any attention, know the government works very inefficiently. They fumble the bag on basically everything they have control over. And what Vivek and Elon, who are both entrepreneurs, what they're claiming to do is that they're going to help the efficiency of the government by eliminating a lot of the waste. They're going to trim a lot of the fat in the government, which means people are going to get fired from their jobs. People are not going to be able to do shenanigans behind the shadows anymore. People are going to get exposed for the nonsense that they're doing, and it's going to be public knowledge so that people can't hide and do nonsense without the public knowing that they're doing nonsense. And a lot of people are really, really, really nervous, fearful, and angry about the fact that these guys might actually do this. Now, who knows? Now, we know in politics, politicians always talk about shit that they're going to do, and then they don't actually do it, or they do some modified version of it that is very different from what they claimed they were going to do. So we'll see if this actually happens. But just the threat of it alone has caused a lot of people to get a little bit shook. Let's just say that. And again, these are 2 entrepreneurs. So when they say they're going to make things more efficient, they ain't lying. I believe they have the ability to do this. Now, if they're going to be able to get it through the government is a different story. But do they have the ability? Yes, they do. And that's why people are nervous about this. Because 2 entrepreneurs who built successful businesses, they know how to make things efficient. I mean, that's one of the things you must do as an entrepreneur. You can't have fat as an entrepreneur. You'll go out of business. So these guys' careers, again, I mean, not them, but people in the government, their careers are based on inefficient work while getting paid as if they're being efficient. And they said they're going to fix this. Now, I just touched on this in the previous point. Many people who work in the government have jobs that most of us don't even know exist. There are a lot of jobs in the government that a lot of us don't even know that they are jobs. Let alone could we explain what people do and why what they're doing is even necessary. Yet, these people can bring home very healthy salaries every year, not to mention the money they make based on maybe their position and the influence from that position that's not even part of the story or part of their salary. Now, Elon and Vivek, and I'm not saying everybody who works in the government, of course, but certain people that they're going to be targeting, DC politicians. Now, Elon and Vivek are threatening to expose and or remove these people from their careers. Again, let me ask you the question. If you were one of these people who was being threatened by these 2 guys, how would you respond? Maybe you wouldn't be able to respond. Maybe you would react, which is what a lot of people are doing, which is reacting very strongly to Vivek and Elon and trashing them in any way possible to deflect from the fact that these guys might be coming for somebody's career in the next couple of months. By the time you hear this, they might already start doing it. How would you respond to this? You would probably fight back every way you possibly could. That's what's happening right now. This is one of the reasons that people don't like Elon. And again, Elon is getting the brunt of this because he's the one who owns the public town square. He's known as one of the richest men in the world, and he has aligned himself very strongly with Donald Trump, on top of the fact that he has no political background at all, no political experience at all, but he's saying things and influencing politics in a very strong way. People are really, really mad about this. Again, the reason that they're mad is not because he doesn't have because he has influence in politics, because he has a lot of money, or even because of what he's saying. It's because he's saying it all in support of Donald Trump. See, if he was saying the same things against Donald Trump, people would love Elon. They're only mad because he's aligning himself with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just a lightning rod for people's emotions. And Elon knew that, and he jumped into the fire anyway. Moving on to point number 8. Today's topic, once again, is why they hate Elon Musk. Number 8, the establishment still has a strong grip on a significant portion of media, which they are weaponizing, either to make Elon look bad or to try to create some rift between him and Donald Trump. Either way, they are trying to get what they want. So even though Elon bought X, which is a very strong media platform and one of the main places that people go for news these days, because none of us trust the mainstream media anymore. You may like some of the mainstream media because they're saying things that you want to hear, but do you actually trust them to tell you the truth? I would bet most of you who can be logical and rational would say no. You may like MSNBC, but do you think they're telling you the truth? There's a difference. I could like you, but if I don't think you're telling the truth, then those are two different things. If I want to be entertained, I may come talk to you. But if I need the truth, I'm not talking to you because I know you can't provide it or you're not willing to. So the establishment still controls a good portion of the media, and they are trying to weaponize it as much as they can to either make Elon look bad or make Trump look bad or make Elon and Trump not be friends anymore. Whatever they're trying to do, they're just trying to make sure that this does not stay together because Donald Trump's the most powerful politician in America. Elon is probably the most powerful entrepreneur in America. These two together working on the same cause is a problem for people who don't like Donald Trump or MAGA or the conservatives. All right, that's a problem. And they're trying to do whatever they can to fight against it. I understand why they're fighting against it. Again, we don't have to be mad at them for fighting against it. It's just like you get in a boxing match and somebody punches you in the face, you punch them in the face. It's not personal. It's just part of the game. This is the game of politics. This is just how it works. Don't be mad at it. Just recognize it for what it is and learn to play if you want to get in this game. So many of these establishment people who have been talking about, I've been talking about them in previous points, they have connections with the media. So Congress people, senators, the outgoing administration, they have connections in the media. If they want to get a certain story out to the media, they know who to call to get that story out in the media within the next 24 hours if they want to. All right, so do not think. I don't want any of you to ever think when you're watching or listening to traditional mainstream media that the things that they are reporting are things that they just randomly dug up and this is actually the objective truth and reality of what's happening in life. No, that is not how media works. How media works is the people with the right pull and the right clout, they make a call and say, hey, we need a story about this. Hey, let me float this. Hey, don't put my name in it, but I'm letting you know about this. And that's how the news gets created. The news is not people just objectively reporting the facts and the reality of what's happening in life. So any of you who has been thinking that, I want to let you know another thing. Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny are also not real. That is not how media works. They make shit up and or they tell the stories that they have been fed to tell by the people who they're connected to, also known as their sources. And different people have different sources. So the people on the left, they have certain sources and pet sources that they go to. The people on the right, they have certain pet sources. And what I'm saying is traditional media is still heavily leaning more towards the left. There are more people who are pet sources for the liberals than there are for the conservatives. That's the point that I'm making. Even though Elon owns X, he's still outnumbered in the battle of number of people, let's say, in media. But now, as far as reach, X has a very strong position, but he's still outnumbered. So they can float any story that they want about any subject that they want. I'm talking the mainstream media people. And they can paint any picture any way that they want it to be painted. Again, look at what they did to Donald Trump for the last 10 years. It didn't work, but did they paint a picture? Absolutely, they painted a picture. They painted a very strong picture for the last, 10 years about Donald Trump. So the more negative stories you see coming out about Elon, Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald Trump, MAGA, or anything of the second Donald Trump administration or anyone associated with this administration, do not think that these negative stories are things that just randomly occurred on certain days or negative stories about a person. There's not just all of a sudden people decided that this person was negative. It's because this person standing next to Donald Trump. This is all a coordinated plot just to keep up the negativity about him for several reasons. Number one, people have already been conditioned to not like him. Number two, it has also been conditioned and shown that if you put out negative stuff about Donald Trump, it draws a lot of clicks and attention. And mainstream media still needs to pay their bills. They are happy that Donald Trump won this past election. I said this right after he won. Mainstream media is happy that Donald Trump won because the negativity that they can now put out for the next 4 years about Donald Trump is going to draw a lot more engagement and attention than a bunch of positive stories about, let's say, Kamala Harris has she won. She doesn't draw nearly the attention that Donald Trump does. So for the mainstream media, it was better that Donald Trump won than if Kamala had won. Kamala is not nearly as interesting as Donald Trump, just like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. None of them are as interesting. So Donald Trump was actually good for the mainstream media, even though none of them is actually going to, there may be a few who might tell you that as the truth, but that is the truth. And if you just think about it logically, does that make sense? Of course it does. Negative news gets more attention than positive news anyway. So Donald Trump was better for everybody. It was better for everybody that Donald Trump be the president because it gives opportunities for negative news. So anybody associated with Trump is going to get negative stuff thrown at them. They're going to be a target for the next 4 years just because of who you are and who you're standing next to. Moving on to point number 9, last point in the series. We're talking here today about why they hate Elon Musk. Number 9, Elon cannot be persuaded the way a normal person is persuaded. We talked about this earlier, such as having a group of people going against you, having the media to say that you're bad, and somehow most people can not deal with that type of pressure. They capitulate to that type of pressure because they don't want to have people saying negative stuff about them all the time. So they just either shut the hell up and go away, or they start compensating for that negative stuff by doing things that will appease the people who are saying negative things about them. And before you know it, you're trying to play the middle of everything, and the very thing that got your attention in the first place no longer exists because you're trying to play the middle. You're trying to straddle the fence, which doesn't work. This is why you got to have balls if you're going to stand out. Because if you have balls and you say things that stand out and you start to get attention for saying those things, there is inevitably going to be a wave of people who disagree with what you say. They're going to attack you. They're going to ridicule you. They're going to say negative things about you. They're going to make shit up about you. They're going to amplify anything negative about you. And if you don't have the balls to stand up to those people, then you will end up capitulating and backing up so you can appease those people. Again, this is the reason why Donald Trump is Donald Trump. The reason why Andrew Tate's Andrew Tate. The reason why people who have been known to stand out, even when they're being attacked by a mass of people, it's because they didn't back down just because they were being attacked. And a lot of people don't have the balls to do that. That's just the reality of the situation. Elon has the balls to do it, and which we know because, again, he didn't have to stand next to Donald Trump. He could have just quietly supported him and kept his mouth shut. He decided to speak up. He chose to. So most people can't do this. In the previous series where we discussed lawfare, I explained this to you in very much detail, right? Help you understand the purpose of lawfare is to intimidate and to silence people so that whatever they were doing, they got them on the radar, they stopped doing it. And I told you that Elon Musk is an entrepreneur at heart, and entrepreneurs, they go against the grain for a living. Again, that's your job as an entrepreneur, is to go against the grain. If you're going with the grain, why are you in business? Just go get a job. Go work with the grain. Why would you start a business? There's no point. You're not adding anything new to the marketplace. Why are you here? See, you cannot persuade someone who's an entrepreneur at heart, because people who are entrepreneurs at heart, they do the persuading. They don't get persuaded. I'm saying that metaphorically. I'm not saying you can't ever persuade an entrepreneur. Of course, they can be persuaded. I mean, that's how they end up hiring staff. Right? You got to persuade them to hire you. You understand the spirit of my point. Don't take it by the letter. And you can't get an entrepreneur to stop doing what they're doing by saying negative things about them. That's not going to work, because they've dealt with that already. That's how they became an entrepreneur in the first place. You can persuade the average person that way, though. The average person is easily persuaded by just saying negative things about whatever they're doing. They'll either stop doing it or they'll stop doing it in front of you, so you stop saying negative shit about them, because most people can't deal with negative backlash. Even if the negative backlash is based in bullshit, most people can't handle it. Elon can handle it. The average person does not want to be subject to ridicule, public scrutiny, or just negative commentary, especially from random strangers with 5 followers on social media. This is why the average person will never have to worry about the type of things that Elon is currently dealing with and what he will be dealing with in the future, because the average person does not have the balls that he has. And the fact that he has the balls and most people don't, again, makes you stand out. And when you stand out from everyone else, you will be criticized. One of the trade-offs of being successful, especially exceptionally successful, is that you stand out. And one of the trade-offs of standing out is that people are going to critique you and poke and prod and look for any negative thing they can say about you. Why? Because it allows them to rationalize the difference between where you're at and where they're at by saying negative stuff about you. It makes them feel better about the fact that you are further ahead than they are. And add that to the fact that you're aligning yourself with someone that people already don't like, and it makes the situation even worse. And Elon doesn't care. It makes the situation very combustible. And that's why this next 4 years, this administration is going to be very interesting to watch, which is great for the mainstream media, because it's going to give them plenty of things to talk about, and it's going to give people like me plenty of stuff to talk about. So I'm happy too that Trump won, because he is much more interesting than Kamala Harris would have been. All that being said, amongst other reasons. All that being said, let's recap part 3 of our 3-part mini series here. Why they hate Elon Musk. Number 7. Through their proposed Department of Government Efficiency, he and Vivek Ramaswamy are threatening a bunch of people's careers and a bunch of people's salaries and to expose a bunch of people. And they are fighting back against this, which I understand. Now, I agree with what Elon and Vivek are proposing to do, and I also understand why people are mad that they're going to do it. Number 8, the establishment still has a strong grip on a significant portion of the media, and they are doing whatever they can to fight back against Trump and Elon by just printing as much negative stuff about them as possible so that they keep people clicking on their websites, coming to their TV shows, and following them on social media, which is good for them business-wise. It's going to be bad for people overall who are not logical and objective and critical thinking enough to understand the bullshit that is being pulled on them, but it is going to work very well for the media companies. I will say that. And point number 9, Elon cannot be persuaded how a normal person is persuaded. Most people can be persuaded by enough negativity and backlash from the peanut gallery, whereas people like Elon and Donald Trump are not affected by it at all. It completely rolls off their back like water off a duck's back, like Napoleon Hill used to say. And when you can't affect the person that way, all you do is just keep saying more negative shit about them because you have no plan B. And this is what people are going to be doing about him and Trump and others who are aligned with Trump for the next 4 years. So get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a very interesting second administration for Donald Trump and those around him, such as Elon Musk, for as long as this lasts. All that said, everybody, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to have me as your direct coach? You're ready to get serious in this year about what you're doing. This year has already started. You're already on the clock. Time is already ticking. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Secure me as your personal coach. Let's take the next steps and let's get going. Work on your game. Dre, all